Alright, I'm the Happy Accident, and welcome to the first episode of Good Show, Bad Character. In this show, we're going to be looking at those characters in your favorite shows that you wish would just die. Whether they be obnoxiously stupid, irritating ear cancer, or just an asshole, we're going to be popping those blemishes on the asses of these otherwise decent shows, one shitty character at a time. So, who's going to be our first character to get the axe? None other than Tom Landry Middle School Substitute Teacher of the Year, that's who. That's right, today we're going to be talking about Peggy Hill. For those of you that don't know, Peggy Hill is the wife of Hank Hill, assistant manager of Strickland Propane.
I provide the people of this community with propane and propane accessories.
Together they have a son, Bobby. And really, that's pretty much all the backstory you need. Hank is very uptight, and Bobby is, well, weird.
I do believe I'll give room service a jangle and have them send up some etouffee.
And oh yeah, they also have Peggy's niece Luann living with them, but I'm not going to talk a lot about Luann. I have a feeling she may wind up on this show in the future. So what makes Peggy Hill so horrible? First, let's start with her ego, which is her biggest flaw. Peggy Hill is extremely full of herself. She has a tendency to state stuff that is common knowledge and try to pass it off as her own opinion. She doesn't make spaghetti, fuck no. She makes spaghetti and meatballs.
Did she say spaghetti?
Well, spaghetti is a lot like spaghetti. I'm not sure what Peggy does different, if anything.
Don't get her started on her fucking apple brown Betty. That's just the tip of the iceberg too. But like I said, her ego is the root of what makes her such a shitty person. The second thing is that she's a bit retarded. If you watch my Christmas episode, I know, shameless self-plug, but anyway, if you watch my Christmas episode, you probably remember me talking about Dexter versus Santa Claus, where Dexter is so blinded by his ego that he's too fucking stupid to realize that Santa Claus does exist even when the fucking fat guy starts flying around with his reindeer. That's pretty much Peggy Hill all the time. For example, Peggy has starred in a series of foot fetish videos because she was told that her feet were going to be in inspirational videos for other women with large feet. It's not until Dale stumbles upon the website and tells Hank that she finally realizes that she's in foot porn. Even after confronting the director of the films, Grant Trimble, he's able to convince her to continue making the videos by telling her that by appealing to the weirdos, eventually the popularity will grow. And eventually, women with large feet will be accepted worldwide as beautiful. It isn't until Grant acts like a complete fucking asshole that Peggy finally pulls her head out of her ass and sees his operation for what it is. And I know what you're saying, but happy. Peggy was insecure about her feet. That's why she was so naive. And okay, perhaps you're right, but that's just my first example. For my second example, I like to bring up the time that Peggy Hill smuggled drugs into jail. That's right, I'm only on my second example, and already Peggy Hill has been a porn star and now a drug smuggler. Peggy receives a letter from a death row inmate, Wesley Archer, claiming that he was inspired by her as a substitute teacher. This, of course, fuels Peggy's overactive ego, and she rushes off to prison to bring Wesley some books. Even though Hank tells her it's a bad idea, Peggy discovers that Wes is illiterate and decides she's gonna tutor him. Her and Wes play Boggle together, and Peggy decides to give him a Boggle set to use. The next time Peggy meets Wes, he tells her that he was in a fight, and his Boggle timer got shanked. Okay, that's not exactly what he says, but regardless, he said it broke in the fight. Peggy, whose hard-throbbing ego boner still hasn't went down, agrees to meet Wesley's friend, who has a replacement timer for him. When Peggy gets the King Kong overstuffed timer, she figures, well, fuck, Wes is illiterate, he probably just needs more time than the average bear.
Well, you realize that this is not a regulation timer. This will make tournament play impossible for Wes.
Okay.
So, can you guess what happens next time Peggy sees Wes? That's right, he's all at a timer stand. So he sucks off Peggy's ego a bit more and sends her off to get another brick of timer sand. It's not until Wes tells Peggy that she's been smuggling coke that she even realizes it. The only reason Peggy doesn't get sent to jail for smuggling drugs is because Wes is such a fucking idiot that by the time Peggy's confronted by the warden, Wes has already licked the frickin' timer clean. Without evidence, it was her word against his. Okay, so I've talked about Peggy's ego and how that makes her do stupid shit. I've also pointed out an example of Peggy being in foot porn and smuggling drugs into prison, but that only proves that she's easily manipulated. It doesn't prove that she's a shitty person like I accused her of being. For that, I have my last nail in Peggy's coffin. Peggy Hill has kidnapped a child. Yeah, you fucking heard me right. Peggy Hill has kidnapped a fucking child. Peggy convinces the principal of the high school to allow her to take her Spanish class on a trip to Mexico. This worries Hank because Peggy's Spanish not so good. However, Peggy being Peggy tells Hank to blow it out his ass, and thus her and her class embark on a quest to Mexico. Once they get to Mexico, Peggy's Spanish is so shitty that they get lost. They see a man on the side of the road with a chicken and pick him up, and with her amazing Spanish skills, Peggy finds out the man works at a carnival. So, she figures they can just follow him and make up the field trip as they go along. This works out exactly as well as you might expect. The man they followed didn't work at the carnival. It was a butcher shop. When they leave, Peggy, being fluent at Spanish and an amazing teacher, forces a Mexican girl on the bus, not realizing she isn't a student of hers, not being able to understand her because she sucks at Spanish. She doesn't realize that she fucked up until it dawns on her that she has an extra kid. Peggy, being an amazing fucking person, doesn't want Hank to find out, so she hides poor confused Lupe in her closet until she can smuggle her back into Mexico. Hank finds out and tells Peggy to do the logical thing and call the authorities, like a normal, sane, rational person, but Peggy tells him she's got this. When she brings Lupe home, she is obviously arrested by the Mexican police, and she's so fucking shitty at Spanish she doesn't even realize she's being arrested until they throw her in a cell. The court-appointed lawyer wants to tell them that it was all a big misunderstanding because Peggy's so poor at Spanish, but that would give Peggy an ego softy, so she refuses. The only thing that saves her is when Hank and the lawyer insist on her taking the stand, and the judge hears her broken head Spanish for himself. So yeah, Peggy Hill kidnapped a girl and hid her in her fucking closet. If her kidnapping a child wasn't enough proof for you, there was also the time that she got involved in a pyramid scheme and treated Bill like a fucking sack of shit to get him to sell her shitty candy bars.
I did not say you could take a break, did I?
Oh, it's my toe. I think I have a blister.
Well, if you do, it's not from carrying boxes for one day. It's from carrying that huge gut of yours around for 40 years.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Or the time she got caught writing an essay for Bobby, and instead of confessing to her fuck up and apologizing to the school at an assembly, she steals Bill's flag, which meant the world to him. She then winds up running it over, ripping and burning it. Then she dumps it on his fucking lawn and peels the fuck out of there. All of this happened because she wanted to drape it behind Bobby to manipulate the people of the assembly, rather than admitting she was wrong. Okay, this video is getting too long. So to wrap things up, I'm just gonna say, I hate Peggy Hill.
You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be, because you are dirt! You make me sick, you big baby! Baby want a bottle? A big dirt bottle?
However, that's only my opinion. If you like Peggy Hill, that's totally fine. But for me, whenever she appears on screen, I just grit my teeth and dream of the time she fell out of that plane. I'm the Happy Accident, and thank you guys so much for watching.